Hey everyone, it is Andrew here from IDB with the Rigiet Gimbal, which is launching on Kickstarter. I got to go hands-on with an early unit, so there could be some changes between now and production, but this is basically what you're going to be getting if you choose to back this project on Kickstarter. They have a lot of big claims coming in from this gimbal. The biggest one is that they say it can beat the DJI Osmo, which we also reviewed. So is that going to be the case? Well, it does have some unique features, and we're definitely going to get into those towards the end of this review. When the gimbal finally goes on sale for everyone, it will be available for $190, I believe, but in the Kickstarter deal, you can get it for $150. So definitely about a $40 savings from what it will actually cost when you go to pick one up after the Kickstarter has ended. They have already started small batch production, and once this Kickstarter is done, they want to go to full production, and you should be receiving these in just a few months, which is definitely great for a Kickstarter campaign. It does come with 2 batteries, which is also very nice. The batteries will last about 3 hours on their own. You can charge it in the gimbal itself. There is a micro USB port, or you can pick up an additional USB charger, or it might come in some of the bundles, but you can just put 2 of them in there and charge them all at once, which is really handy because you can top them both off before you go out for the day and do some shooting. So let's take a look at the controls on the Rigiet. So you do have a shutter button, which is also what turns it on and activates Bluetooth. You do have a joystick, and like many game controllers, it also is depressible as well as movable. On the right side of the gimbal itself, you have 2 different kinds of buttons. This one here on the bottom just kind of slides back and forth but doesn't stay in those positions, and we'll look at that. It changes your camera modes and stuff. We'll look at that when we get to the app part, because that's really where it's going to come into effect. And then of course on the top we have the different modes for the gimbal itself, so which way it's going to allow you to move the gimbal, which ones are going to be locked into position. We'll look at all those modes as well so you can see what they do. On the left hand side, we do have that micro USB port, so you can charge the battery inside of the gimbal itself, or if you want to plug into like a battery pack or something. Then on the back side, we do have the logo and a tripod mount, which is super useful, because if you want to do something cool like a time lapse, you're going to want this on a tripod and not just holding it in your hand the whole time. The part that actually holds your camera or your phone, whatever you may be, it does have a little up sign there as well as some markers. You can use this with a GoPro. They do a little GoPro adapter, so if you are a GoPro user, perfect, this will still work in there. It's also really nice and easy to attach your phone just using this little thumb screw. It'll expand and contract those clamps to hold your phone securely in place, and there's silicone around all 4 of the different sides. The only problem is it doesn't work with a 7 Plus with a case. Even a thin case, it probably won't work. That's a big deal for a lot of people. So if you want to use this with a 7 Plus with a case, you might be out of luck. Of course, once you're connected, the joystick will control the gimbal itself, so I can use it to move my camera around, move my phone around, up, down, left, right, so you don't have to try to turn it necessarily. You can get really granular and just use the actual joystick itself, especially if you're in a locked position mode. Now, as I mentioned before, it is Bluetooth. It connects to the Rigiet app. You can tap on the Bluetooth icon in the top left-hand corner and change the different modes down here. First up, we'll put into lock mode. Simplest mode, it's going to lock your camera into one spot, and really wherever you move the gimbal, it's going to just stay in that locked position. So it's not going to tilt up and down, not going to tilt left and right. No matter where you move, it's going to keep it in place. Next up, we have panning mode. So it's that Y there on the top. That means you can move this left to right. I can move this left to right all I want. It's going to follow me. It's going to make it nice, smooth, and fluid. But when I move up and down at all, it's not going to tilt the camera. It's going to keep that camera locked facing that same vertical plane. So I can move left and right, but not up and down with the camera. And then that YP, that's going to be pan and tilt mode. So this is just going to follow me around. So as I'm moving the camera, it's going to completely follow where I'm looking, but it's going to make it really nice and smooth and not going to be jarring at all as you're kind of jumping or bouncing around if you're on a car or a bike or something like that. So now we have the little switch below our different gimbal modes, which is going to allow us to change camera modes as well as change which camera we're looking at. If you pull it down, it kind of goes and then snaps back. And you can see I'm just going through all the different camera modes on here. Speaking of camera modes, there are 6 different ones: panorama, photo, video, time-lapse, motion time-lapse, and slow motion. Real quick, if you push it forward, that'll also change it to the selfie camera instead. On the right-hand side of the Rigiet app, you have 3 different buttons. The bottom one is going to turn on different grid systems for your screen for more pro shooters. We have the camera option, which changes stuff like our shutter speed or ISO if you want to turn those on manual and really get granular. So if you put a longer shutter speed, you can do really great photos at night and you don't have to worry about your camera moving around. And then of course video, we have different resolutions and frame rates that you can choose between. Now unfortunately we didn't get to try it out in our pre-release version, but this here is very cool. This little micro USB port allows you to charge your phone while you're shooting. So they use a special little USB cable that you can get in many different bundles, allow you just to keep shooting and charging your phone at the same time, drawing off of the Rigiet battery inside. And then of course you could plug something like a battery pack into the gimbal itself, so you could be shooting all day, live streaming, whatever, and never run out of battery. So far it holds up fairly well to the DJI Osmo gimbal. The biggest difference for me so far has been a little bit of the build quality. It's a little more plasticky, I feel like, than the other one is, and it's not as comfortable in your hand. But that said, it is a really solid gimbal, and it's quite a bit less. I also like that it comes with the 2 different batteries, and you can use a standard USB charger to go along with it. It also has another really cool mode here, which is where you can actually go to the underslung position, so you don't have to hold it like this all the time. Now they say you can do it one-handedly while you're shooting, but I never got it to work that smoothly. I did kind of just have to hold my camera for a second, but I moved the gimbal up and down, and now I can move it in an underslung position. So it's great when you're running or something like that and you don't want to be holding the camera underneath. You can hold it from above, going down a little bit, holding it over an edge or something. So very neat, but I did have to kind of help it along a little bit to get it into that position. Many can do that underslung position, but they often require you to stop what you're doing, stop recording, and turn everything upside down. So really cool you can do it while you're shooting. It's also really neat that you can go into portrait mode, either this way or in an underslung portrait mode if I switch to my right hand and do it from that side. So it does it automatically, very intelligent, really cool. This is not the only one that does this. We have other ones like the SPG Plus, the ones that are featured in the Apple stores. They can do that as well, but another really nice feature that I'm glad they baked in. Other than that, there's just a lot of other smart features that many other gimbals have had in the past. The motion time-lapse mode, I absolutely love when gimbals bake that in. You can choose a beginning point and end point, and it'll kind of animate in between them over a set amount of time. The object tracking is also fairly good. So I can choose an object like my dog here. I just kind of drag over it on the screen after tapping that button in the bottom left-hand corner. And as he runs, I'm not doing anything. It's just going to automatically follow him across the screen. And anything he does, the gimbal will just follow. So really great. You don't even have to do anything to make it work. Of course, we also have some test footage here. Here's with the gimbal, very nice and smooth. I'm walking at the same time, panning over to the geese in the pond, nothing jumpy here. And of course, the 7S7 Plus, or not 7S7 Plus, and the 7, they both come standard with image stabilization. So this is stabilized by the phone, but this is all handheld. You can see it's still definitely jumpy, and this is just standing around walking. As gimbals get more and more complex, there's more and more things to fit into this tiny little review. So I may have not covered everything. So if you have questions, let me know down in the comments below, and I will do my best to get back to you. If you are on the market for a new gimbal going into these summer months, definitely check this out at the Kickstarter in the link below. Please subscribe, and until next time, this is Andrew for IDB.